NASCAR just denied Cleetus McFarland entry to race at Talladega Superspeedway. But to understand why that decision landed the way it did, you need to go back to the very beginning. Because the story of how a YouTube car guy ended up driving for one of the most storied teams in NASCAR history is way more interesting than any headline. Garrett Mitchell, better known online as Cleetus McFarland, has built a following of nearly 5 million subscribers on YouTube through car content, burnouts, and the kind of accessible, unfiltered automotive entertainment that traditional motorsport media simply doesn't produce. He is not a career racer. He is a content creator who genuinely loves cars and speed. Before his deal with Childress Racing, his entire racing resume consisted of roughly 5 ARCA Menard Series races between 2025 and 2026, 2 top 10 finishes, and 1 Truck Series start in February 2026 that ended in a crash. So how did someone with that resume end up signing with RCR? It started with a phone call. Dillon, who races in the Cup Series for Childress Racing and is the grandson of Richard Childress himself, reached out to Cleetus after discovering his content on social media. Dillon wanted to understand what McFarland's actual goals were. I called him. I was like, "Hey man, what do you think about this idea? I know you're wanting to race in NASCAR. What is your goal?" Dillon explained on the Gluckcast with the Athletics' Jeff Gluck. Cleetus was direct. He's like, "I love the superspeedways and I would love to one day race in the Cup Series. The Daytona 500 would be awesome." Dillon took that answer back to RCR, but he had one firm condition before pushing the idea forward. "We would only want to do this if you can stay original to who you are. We wouldn't want this to take you off of who Cleetus is, what your channel is, and what makes you fun. And if we're not having fun doing this whole project, we're failing." The deal was officially announced in early March 2026. McFarland signed on to run 3 O'Reilly Auto Parts Series races per season over a 2-year period with Childress Racing. Dillon's vision was straightforward. His fan base is our fan base, but we need to kind of merge them together. I think his people will love us. I think our people will love him. The NASCAR world, however, had strong opinions right away. Kyle Petty came out and stated that internet personalities like McFarland don't belong on the racetrack with professional stock car drivers. Kyle Busch, who actually drives for RCR in the Cup Series, questioned the move directly. "I don't know how many races he's run. I mean, Denny Hamlin ran 10,000 before he got here, right? So I don't know if Cleetus has run 10 or not, but there's definitely a need to having ample experience. My son's probably run more races than he has, and he's 10 years old." Freddie Kraft, who works as Bubba Wallace's spotter, also voiced safety concerns. This was not random fan noise on the internet. These were people who work inside the NASCAR garage every single week. Cleetus heard all of it and didn't hide from it. Speaking to reporter Bob Pockras, he made his position clear. If NASCAR is letting him do it, he's in. And if Richard Childress called any of his critics and offered them a ride, every single one of them would have taken it too. Then came Saturday, April 4th, 2026 at Rockingham Speedway, the weekend where everything got real. McFarland ran double duty that day. First up was the ARCA Menard Series East race, and it genuinely went well. He kept his car clean throughout the entire event and crossed the line in 4th place. His best finish in any NASCAR division at that point. After the race, he got emotional. He dedicated the result to his late friend Greg Biffle, the former NASCAR champion who tragically lost his life along with his wife Christina and their 2 children in a plane crash in December 2025. "I just went out there and turned left for Greg Biffle," McFarland said. "That was the good part of the day." The O'Reilly Auto Parts Series race told a completely different story. McFarland started 35th out of 38 cars in the number 33 Childress Racing Chevrolet. On just the 4th of lap, he found himself in a 3-wide situation going into turn 1, slid sideways, and barely saved the car, but lost massive ground to the field immediately. At lap 49, Blake Lothian spun directly ahead of him, and McFarland had to dive to the apron, missing Lothian's car by inches. Then came lap 206. His number 33 broke loose in turn 3, slid to the bottom of the track, and spun back into traffic to draw the 7th caution flag of the day. He also picked up a speeding penalty on pit road. He finished 32nd, 6 laps behind winner William Sawalich. After the race, McFarland was completely transparent about how it went. He called it the hardest thing he's ever done in his life. He joked that he spun out 50 times and almost died 10 times. But he also pointed out what mattered most to him. He didn't wreck anyone else's car, he didn't ruin anyone's day, and he completed 244 of the 250 laps with the car in one piece. The response from inside RCR was honest rather than celebratory. Danny Lawrence, RCR's vice president of O'Reilly Series operations, told motorsport.com that Rockingham is a hard racetrack and that Cleetus did well in a couple of moments where he could have spun out in front of everybody and didn't. But Lawrence didn't sugarcoat the bigger picture. There were a lot of things we wanted to see happen that didn't happen. The team never got to execute a live pit stop. After McFarland got sideways early, the team shifted into conservation mode. The goal became simply to keep rolling and not push too hard. Lawrence also said openly that he would not be surprised if NASCAR wanted them to run another race before going to Daytona or Talladega, because everything happened so fast at those tracks. The verdict from the paddock was split. Justin Allgaier, the 2024 O'Reilly Series champion, praised McFarland directly. He said Cleetus did a great job, stayed out of the way every time he was lapped, and that he was proud of him for putting in the effort given all the social media pressure he had been facing. Ty Dillon stood by the project, saying he thinks NASCAR should be proud of how Cleetus represented himself and that he was respectful to the leaders and didn't mess up anybody's day. The critics, however, went deeper. Tommy Baldwin said his concern wasn't personal. It was about process. He compared the situation to being in 7th grade and deciding to skip straight to college. You have to go through the steps. You need to race ARCA, learn car control, drive late models. Freddie Kraft pointed out that during the race, Cleetus was heard on his in-car audio having a conversation with his spotter where he essentially didn't know what inside meant. Kraft called that Budick Racing 101. Even Mark Martin, who had been broadly supportive of McFarland, delivered a blunt assessment. The best thing about Cleetus is his interviews. A polite way of saying his on-track performance still has a long way to go. Martin agreed that the right place for Cleetus right now is ARCA. Then came the official decision. On Tuesday, April 7th, 2026, NASCAR officially denied Cleetus McFarland's entry to race the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series at Talladega Superspeedway. NASCAR's Brad Probst confirmed that McFarland is approved for all of ARCA, all of the Truck Series, and O'Reilly short tracks, but not Superspeedways yet. "We'd like to see more out of Cleetus in the short tracks," Probst said. "We're not saying no, but there is more that we would like to see out of Cleetus before we would approve him for Talladega." Dale Earnhardt Jr. backed that decision publicly. He had watched the Truck Series test with Nice Motorsports, the O'Reilly test with RCR, and then the Rockingham race itself. "I saw enough to not approve him for Daytona or Talladega in the O'Reilly Series, to be quite honest with you. In all 3 of those, he busted his ass." Earnhardt acknowledged that McFarland didn't hit anything in most of those instances, but that repeated loss of car control was enough. His recommendation was 1, 2, maybe 3 more events somewhere else before a superspeedway attempt. McFarland responded on Facebook, calling the decision a kick in the nuts, but said it wasn't as much of a letdown as it appeared. He said he just needs to get out there more and do as much learning as possible. The numbers, though, make NASCAR's balancing act clear. When Cleetus raced at Rockingham, viewership for the O'Reilly Auto Parts Series was up over 11% year over year. The Daytona Truck Series opener, which featured McFarland alongside Tony Stewart and Travis Pastrana, drew 1.387 million viewers on FS1, a 37% increase over the previous year and the highest viewership for a Truck Series race since 2016. 4 of the first 8 2026 O'Reilly races posted year-over-year gains. The question was never whether Cleetus McFarland brings value to NASCAR. The numbers answer that definitively. The real question is whether the sport can grow his seat time at a responsible pace while still using his platform to pull in a new generation of fans. Right now, the path forward is more ARCA, more Truck Series starts, and more time learning before another shot at the O'Reilly Series Superspeedways. And McFarland, for his part, seems to understand exactly where he stands. "I never expected NASCAR to just wave me through," he said. "I'm just taking the opportunity in front of me.